Kia ora and welcome. My name is Isaac, and in today's video, we're going to be going over how to ascend a rope. This is a skill that can be applied to a variety of climbing situations, whether that be rescuing an injured climber, aid climbing, or simply needing to get up to the top of a rope. We will cover all the equipment that you'll need, how to set up the equipment, and then the actual movement itself. We'll go over some safety tips and technique tricks to ensure that you're ascending the rope as efficiently as you can. The first piece of equipment that we'll go over is the rope that we're going to use to ascend. There are two types of ropes that we generally use in climbing, static and dynamic. Dynamic ropes have some stretch to them and is the rope that I use in this video. However, you normally want to use a static rope to ascend. This is because a static rope will not stretch as you ascend it, making it more efficient to use. The next piece of equipment that you'll need is a prusik. This is a loop piece of cord that should be no thicker than half the thickness of your rope. The minimum length that we want for this application is a 30cm prusik. You can use a longer prusik, and if you do, you can always tie a knot in it to shorten it. The next piece of equipment you'll need is a grugri, or auto-locking belay device. This will be used to capture your progress as you pull the rope through it and will be securely attached to your harness using a locking carabiner. It is important that you use an auto-locking belay device as a normal ATC will not work for this function. The next piece of gear you'll need is a foot loop sling. This is a piece of webbing sewn in a circular sling that needs to be at least 1 meter long. This is so that it can reach all the way from your hand to your foot. You can use a longer sling. You will just need to tie a knot in it at the appropriate height to ensure that it fits you. The final thing that you'll need are 2 carabiners. The first carabiner will attach to your prusik. The rope will go up through the grigri and then down through that carabiner. After that, you need one more biner that's going to attach to your foot loop and then to the prusik. This will allow you to slide the foot loop up as you go. The first step is to attach your prusik to the rope. You do this by wrapping it around itself 3 times, as you can see in the video above. It is important to keep the wrapping inside of itself to keep the coils neat and not overlapping one another. You can see that I bunch it up together and then check to see that all the coils are lying flat on the rope and not overlapping one another. There should be 6 in total, with the tail end coming out nice and even. This is what you then attach your carabiner to. You can then slide the prusik up your rope by putting your thumb and forefinger underneath and pushing upwards. After that, you will then get your foot loop ready. You'll start by attaching one of your carabiners to the prusik, and then attaching the foot loop to that carabiner. From there, slide the prusik up until your arm is fully extended. You'll then want to see how high you can lift your foot. Once you've figured out what a comfortable height is for your leg, tie a knot in the sling using a simple overhand knot. Make sure that you test out the foot loop length to ensure that it's comfortable. You will then need to begin to set up your grugri. First, open the device and feed the rope through it. You want the top of the rope to be going through the back of the device and the front of the rope to be going through the front of the device. Then attach your locking carabiner and lock it shut to ensure that it is securely attached to your harness. The next step is to take the tail end of the rope and feed it up through the empty carabiner attached to your prusik. Ensure that the carabiner is screwed shut so that the rope won't accidentally fall out. Now we move on to the process of climbing the rope itself. We'll cover the different steps that you need to ascend the rope and go over them individually. Start by sliding the prusik attached to the foot loop up until you have no more reach in your arm or in your foot. Then stand up in the foot loop, transferring your weight from your harness onto your foot. Then pull down on the rope that goes through the grugri and then through the carabiner, lifting your body up at the same time. Now you want to combine all 3 of those steps into one fluid motion. Sliding the prusik up the rope, lifting up your foot, then transferring your weight into the foot loop as you pull the rope through the grugri. It might take some time and practice to be able to coordinate all 3 of these steps into one fluid motion, but you'll soon get the hang of it. A key aspect of safety while ascending a rope is tying safety knots in the rope as you ascend. We do this so that if your grugri does fail, the knots will slide into the device, jamming it up and stopping you from falling all the way to the end of your rope. These knots are a critical safety feature of this system. As you are only connected to the rope with the grugri, there is no backup if that happens to fail. It is important that you tie these knots so that you can remain safe if the grugri fails. To tie a safety knot, pull up some of the rope below you, make a bight, and tie an overhand knot, ensuring that the tail is at least a hand's width long. You'll repeat this process every few meters as you ascend the rope, ensuring that you won't fall too far if your device does fail. As well as ascending the rope, we also need to learn how to use the system to descend the rope. We'll go over the steps that you use to dismantle your system and lower yourself safely to the ground. We start the lowering process by first removing our foot from the foot loop, and then taking the foot loop and the carabiner off of the prusik. We want to make sure that it is securely and safely stowed away on our harness so it doesn't get in the way of our lowering. Next, we will need to remove the prusik from the rope. We start by unhooking the rope from the carabiner, and then slowly unwinding the prusik from the rope, feeding it back through itself in the opposite direction to what we started with. The final step is to lower yourself with the gree-gree. You want to hold the rope in your right hand and the brake lever in your left, slowly pulling down on the brake lever to ensure that you have a smooth and even descent. Make sure to hold the rope in your right hand below the gree-gree to ensure that you have a smooth descent that's not jerky or abrupt. And there we have it, everything you need to know to ascend a rope. I hope that this video has been useful to you and that you have learned something.